Okay, this time we'll call the meeting to order. 6 o'clock. Christina, you have the roll.
Yes, now that I see John.
Yeah.
I got everybody.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And at this time, I'd like to observe a moment of silence for September 11th and the victims of the World Trade Center bomb. Thank you all. We need to approve this evening's agenda. Motion to approve.
Are you doing a public hearing agenda first next?
So we don't have to open and close things.
You have it?
I got it.
Okay. I would just recommend doing the public hearing separate.
Oh, that's not going. So this would be its first reading for
The one for the public hearing will be its only public hearing, and then you will have the ability to vote on it in the regular meeting. The ordinances are different because they already exist in their amendments. And this is an interim, so you have the right to do the public hearing tonight for it solely, then close it, and then move into the regular meeting to take action on it in administration.
I'm on to it, I guess, description of the project.
Good. So this public hearing is to hear comments for and against an interim ordinance establishing a moratorium on the sale of cannabis. And I'll read that ordinance into the record. The City Council of Blackduck, Minnesota ordains Section 1 background. 101, the city recognizes the significant public interest and concern regarding recent state of Minnesota legislation legalizing the sale of cannabis. 102, the city desires to regulate the sale of such products in a manner that is consistent with public health, welfare, and safety, as well as in accordance with the city's interest in fairness and due process toward potential future retail establishments and purveyors of such products. 103, the city desires to regulate the location of where businesses may be located to sell cannabis products. 104, pursuant to recently enacted Minnesota statute section 342.13, a local unit of government may adopt an interim ordinance to regulate, restrict, or prohibit the operation of a cannabis business within its jurisdiction until January 1st, 2025. Section 2, findings, 201. The city council finds that the city has concerns about the new legislation legalizing cannabis products. 202. The city council finds that its code needs to be updated to address where said products may be used and sold. 203. The city council finds that additional study and research is required to formulate and adopt appropriate regulations governing the sale of cannabis products. 204. Therefore, the city council finds that a moratorium on the retail sale of cannabis products is necessary to protect the planning process and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. Section 3, study and moratorium. 301, the city council hereby authorizes a study to be conducted by city staff to determine whether amendments need to be made to the city's official controls as they relate to retail sale of cannabis products in the city. 302, pursuant to Minnesota statute section 342.13, the retail sale of adult use cannabis products and concentrate as defined in Minnesota statute section 34201 is hereby prohibited in the city until January 1st, 2025, unless earlier terminated by the action of the city council.
Thank you. At this time, if there's any questions from the public. Any questions from the public? Third time. There's no further question. Any questions from the public? You need a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
A second?
I'll second.
There we go. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Public hearing stands adjourned. Call to order. Regular meeting. Item number 2. To approve this evening's agenda.
I'll move we approve this evening's agenda.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on it? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. All items under the consent agenda will be passed with one council motion unless there is something we need to remove, talk about further. The motion to approve this evening's consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda for this evening.
Have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is passed. On to the ordinance readings.
You guys gave me a break.
You want a different half,
I'm good.
you know, for.
Oh, good. All right. So ordinance 2301 is an ordinance amending chapter 13 general offenses, adding section 1307 to the city code to regulate public use of cannabis products. Sorry. Findings and purpose. The city council of the city of Blackduck finds that it is in the public interest to prohibit cannabis use on public property and in public places because of negative impacts on non-users. The city council of Blackduck, Minnesota ordains section 1. The following language is added to the city code as section 1307 in chapter 13 general offenses. Section 1307 use of cannabis in public. A, definitions. For the purpose of this section, the following definitions shall apply. Cannabis flower, cannabis products, and lower potency hemp edibles. These terms shall have the meanings as defined in Minnesota statute 34201. Public place. Property that is generally open to or accessible by the public, except on those premises licensed by the state to permit on-site consumption. Public property. Real and personal property owned, managed, or controlled by the city, including the Blackduck liquor store, Blackduck golf course, Blackduck campground and beach, city of Blackduck buildings and surrounding land, parking lots, parks, trails, and city rights of way consisting of both the traveled portion and the abutting boulevard, sidewalks, and trails, and any city personal property, including motor vehicles and equipment. B, prohibited acts. No person shall use cannabis flower, cannabis products, or lower potency hemp edibles in beverage form in a public place or on public property. C, penalty. A violation of this section is a petty misdemeanor. Subdivision 2, effective date. This ordinance shall be effective from and after its passage and publication following the second reading of the next general meeting. We take questions now.
We can take questions now,
And then I can come back and do this one.
but it's up to you.
That's fine.
If anybody's got any questions,
I'll just leave them there.
the first reading.
So if you have. Like. You guys sell alcohol at the park. Liquor store, so you guys can't sell any. Hemp derived or anything like that, right? So. Because. Like, you know, like a beer tents or anything,
Right,
you won't be able to sell
They
anything.
would be selling it in the on sale, which is.
Yeah.
Would similar as the same thing as like as backwoods bash.
So.
yeah, we aren't selling it over the bar. We're
Yeah.
Only if we do end up doing it, it's only going to be off sale.
Correct.
Okay,
And then off premise is
Yeah.
basically is exactly
Yeah.
what it means.
okay, I was just kind of
No,
curious.
you're, I mean, you're
Because
right.
I know you told me that, but I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I'm sure that.
Yep.
You guys couldn't sell it, you know, because that's what it says here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Check it.
And then there's no like special permits or something like that that comes down the line later. Like people that wanna do it, they wanna have some sort of festival.
That will be included in the study as we adopt that moratorium next. So if the city is gonna license in the future, that's one of the considerations is not just retail establishments of actual cannabis sales, but if those events were to take
Sure.
part, if the city was going to be a licensure of those events.
Anybody else got any questions? None, Christina. Get your steps in.
Or is it not? All right, ordinance 2302. First reading and ordinance amending chapter 9, general regulations, health and safety nuisances, adding section 900.39 to the city code to regulate managed natural landscapes. Finding and purpose. City Council of the City of Blackduck finds that it is in the public interest to authorize occupants of any privately owned lands or premises to install and maintain a managed natural landscape. The City Council of Blackduck, Minnesota ordains section 1, the weed ordinance, city code sections 900.37 and 900.38 is modified as follows with added language, underlined and deleted language struck out. 900.37 definitions, exclusions, destructive order, the notice served by the city council or designated city official in cases of appeal on the property owner of the ordinance violation, property owner, the person occupying the property, the holder of legal title, or a person having control over the property of another, such as a right-of-way, easement, license, or lease. Weeds, grass, and rank vegetation, including but not limited to the following. A, noxious weeds and rank vegetation shall include but not limited to alum, buckthorn, bird cucumber, Canada thistle, horn cockle, crust leaf, groundsel, curly dock, dodder, field bindwood, French weed, hairy whitetop, hedge bindwood, hoary cress, porcelain, Johnson grass, leafy sponge, mile-a-minute weed, musk thistle, oxy daisy, perennial sow thistle, poison hemlock, purple loosestrife, quack grass, Russian knapweed, Russian thistle, serrated tussocks, shatter cane, sorghum, wild carrot, wild garlic, wild mustard, wild onion, and wild parsnip. I hope I pronounced all those right. Grapevines when growing in groups of 100 or more, not pruned, sprayed, cultivated, or otherwise maintained for 2 consecutive years. Bushes of the species of tall, common, or European barberry, further known as Berberis vulgaris, or its horticultural varieties. Except as allowed as a managed landscape, any plants other than trees, bushes, flowers, or other ornamental plants growing to a height exceeding 8 inches. Rank vegetation, including the uncontrolled, uncultivated growth of annuals and perennials plants. The term weeds does not include shrubs, trees, cultivated plants, or crops. In no event shall cultivated plants or crops include plants which have been defined by state statute or administrative rule as being noxious and detrimental plants. Managed landscape means a planned, intentional, and maintained planting of native or non-native grasses, wildflowers, forbs, ferns, shrubs, or trees, including but not limited to rain gardens, meadow vegetation, and ornamental plants. Managed natural landscape does not include turf grass lawns left attended for the purpose of returning to a natural state. Meadow vegetation means grasses and flowering broadleaf plants that are native to or adopted to the state of Minnesota and that are commonly found in meadow and prairie plant communities, not including noxious weeds. Ornamental plants means grasses, perennials, annuals, and ground covers purposely planted for aesthetic reasons. Rain garden means a native plant garden that is designed not only to aesthetically improve properties, but also to reduce the amount of stormwater and accompanying pollutants from entering streams, lakes, and rivers. Turf grass lawn means a lawn composed mostly of grasses commonly used in regular lawn cut lawns or play areas, including but not limited to bluegrass, fescue, and ryegrass blends intended to be maintained at a height of no more than 8 inches. Managed natural landscapes may include the plants and grasses that are in an excess of 8 inches in height and have gone to seed, but may not include noxious weeds and must be maintained. Except as part of the managed natural landscape as defined in this section, any weeds or grasses growing upon any lot of land in a city to a greater height than 8 inches or that have gone or about to go to seed are prohibited. Owners responsible for trimming, removal, and the like. All property owners shall be responsible for the removal, cutting, or disposal of and elimination of weeds, grasses, and rank vegetation of other uncontrolled plant growth on their property, which at the time of notice is in excess of 8 inches in height.
Can't believe it used to be 12.
Change that.
So, what's just curiosity, what made this,
The state custom. So we're adopting it and changing our.
okay. So I'm not getting in trouble for my five feet of cosmos by my mailbox. But I- Right, so we can come down.
Yeah, you're first on our list.
That's what my
Yeah.
cosmos are, they're safe. Pretty proud of those. They're not weeds, they find those.
Any questions? Quite the list of stuff that we've.
Yeah, some of these words you giggle after you read them, it's just, did I say that right? Orange horse meadow, Johnson grass. Mile a minute weed.
Yeah. Okay, well, I thought you were reading Dr. Seuss, but.
Oh, that's fun.
Were there any questions though? The third time on that one, but no, Christina, we can move on.
Brilliant.
Anyone here for the Blackduck Forum? I'm only asking once. Okay. We will move on to reports. Mike, you're up.
Few things this past month. The interior of the water tower got cleaned and inspected. That right now I'm currently waiting to hear back on that inspection. Once they have all the pictures, and the documents and stuff together, I'll hear back on that. The exterior was supposed to be completed at the same time, but they ended up running into some pump problems, so they'll be coming back. I was hoping they were gonna be here today, but they didn't show up today, so I'll have to get with them and see kind of what's going on there, so we can finish that exterior cleaning.
I saw him dangling up there.
Yeah, they got a pretty good start on it, and then their stuff went wacky and had to order parts in from the manufacturer and all that stuff, so. Once that is done, they will also be doing, a paint sample for the possibility of repainting the tower, since it has been 20 years. That paint expectancy generally on those is, around the 16 to 17 year mark from what they say. So we'll be looking at possibly doing something with that in the future. Let's see what else. We had a water break that we got taken care of over on 3rd and Railroad down there.
The roundabout?
Yeah, our little roundabout we
Yeah,
had set up
yeah.
for a while there, so that people wouldn't sink into the soft stuff. Yeah, that was an interesting one. We got that all taken care of. Of course, it had to be on a Friday afternoon, that's when that stuff likes to happen. But it wasn't winter time, so that was good. We had quite a few issues with our water plant over the last month. We were starting to get it kind of dialed in and figure out what was going on. We were losing power quite often down there. It was getting to be more and more of a regular thing where we were kicking the plant out, and a safety feature of that plant is that as soon as there's any surge or power failure, it shuts down, and then we have to come in and manually restart it. And part of that is so that in the case that it ever were to turn off while filling, and the foot valve essentially were to not operate, if that water were to backflow down the well and the well kick on, if the power comes back on and it kicks on while it's spinning backwards, you run the risk of essentially snapping your pump, and then you're dead in the water, obviously. So it's a fail safe that it's there, it's antiquated on how it works. But we were having a lot of power outages. They were getting closer and closer together, and more problems. And we were just starting to pin it down, and then it let loose on us and it went out completely. And what had happened was that it ended up being the 200 amp breaker that's in there was a specialty breaker. It was all hands on deck on Labor Day, Monday is of course when it went down. We ended up through people, we were able to borrow a 200 amp breaker from Norboard, well, West Fraser now, I believe it is. A guy knew that they had some that they use down there. They happen to have one extra, so we currently are running that one. I've since ordered 2 new ones so that this doesn't happen again. We have one that we'll put in and then one that'll sit on the shelf and we'll get theirs back to them. But just to kind of put it into perspective, it's a $2,500 breaker. So and again, it's a specialized one. We had to order it directly from Square D. Nobody in the country has one anywhere. So with that going on, we did the new planter. If any of you saw that down at the wayside down there,
Nice.
got rid of the old rotted stuff and got the new concrete block in there that hopefully should outlast me anyways. Got that, and we've just been working on some of our other projects that we want to finish up and have some more stuff to do yet, obviously, before the cold sets in. I'm sure there's probably some other stuff, but it was a pretty hectic month, and those are the ones that stand out off the top of my head. Anything for me from anybody? Nothing.
I didn't find material for the dirt roads yet.
Yeah, we've started putting some stuff around on the roads, the FEMA roads that we were able to get through, and we've started putting some material on those roads and getting them shaped back up.
When do we plan on holding the park this year?
Pine Tree Park,
Yeah.
the last day that it'll be open will be October 8th, I believe it is. So that's a Sunday, and then after that, we'll blow up lines and then assist the golf course with getting their irrigation all blown out and everything out there as well. So October 8th will be the last one.
Oh, no,
Thanks, guys.
that's good. Honda.
Yeah, it's been crazy month. Backwoods went well. We did well in Backwoods Bash, and we recently had some issues with our flat top grill at the pond, and we had to call in repairs. We had to replace a couple elements. It's not that old, but there's just nothing you can do about it. We have to have it. Have to have the grill. So at the same time, actually this morning, the same time they were repairing that, our refrigerator, not the freezer we just got, but the refrigerator that we've had for a while, stopped working. So we had to clean that all out, throw away some food. We got that one back running too, also. So today has been trying very much. So anyway, but other than that, things have been going well. Our sales are up. I did look at our statement, and hey, it's not red at the end, so I'm like, yes. I mean, I wanted this to happen at the end of June, not the end of August, but you take what you can get. This month is going to be a little bit of a challenge. We had a couple weddings last year. This year we don't have any planned, so there'll be something to, try. Some weekend events maybe that we could try to drive. We're working on it, figuring out something fun to do. Yeah, that's about all I have. Any questions?
The cooler,
The beer cave?
the door thing, where we,
Well, the liquor committee met and
That's
we,
on minutes.
yeah, and we talked about it. I've got a quote for a stationary pull it open door. That's the direction that I would recommend we go with. It will cost us like a little over $7,000 to replace it. But it's guaranteed for 5 years.
There's no electronics on that one, Sean. That's
Not a one.
manual.
Yep.
Pull or push.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, the time that the many days that we have the issue with humidity. I mean, it's been a pretty warm summer, but the days that we have issues are 20 throughout the whole year.
Yep.
Right? So to replace that door, which would be well over, that would be probably in the 13, 14, 15,000 to replace it electronically. And then to ensure, because I've had many people come in and say, well, this is what you need to do to fix your humidity. And then the next guy comes in and goes, well, that's not necessarily the problem. And then I had someone come in and quote and say, hey, what can fix it? Well, for $25,000, we can redo this and this and this. And then, is there a guarantee that it's going to fix the humidity? No. So, I mean, you guys, you run the show, but I feel like $25,000 of the hard-earned money here would not be practical. That would not be. And this would solve the problem, and any humidity would not affect the store.
We'll just go with lesson learned and move on.
Right. And the fact is that with this door the way it is, so the electronic doors, and I mean, I've talked doors, I mean, this has been all year. The thing about this door is, even when it was working properly, it still had a time where it opens and allows slow people to get through, right? So it has so many seconds before it slides shut. Well, in those seconds it's just cold air is just pouring out. So, I mean, that couldn't help the situation. We had the gentleman from Clarity Glass come up and he's like, oh, there was some spots where the building had settled or whatever, the door had gaps in it, and he helped us seal that up. That did improve it. That did help. But the door now, you slide it open and then you shut it. And unless you shut it and just kind of hold it rather than shut it and it'll bounce back. So then there's a gap like that when most customers are leaving. So I feel like this door is a better solution.
As long as we get it to seal and people can use it easily and, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you pull it open because you're not going to go in there with your hands full, and then you could just come out and it's a push with the,
With a heavy closure. on the
with a
top.
heavy closer so that it comes shut.
Any other questions for liquor store? Anything else for us?
No?
Thank you, Shonda. Of course.
Misty is with her volleyball team, so she supplied a report. And I included it in your packet. And if you have any questions, I'm sure either myself or Tony's here, we can direct any questions for you.
On page 6.
Upper report.
For
Yep.
Tony, those are the rocks you were hauling in? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fountain, the pond with the fountain on it? Yeah. That looks nice. Yeah, and I do like the new sign. Big improvement.
It's a.
And we will be having a golf board meeting, I'm assuming, some point at the end to recap the year, or
I think the last request was September as the year starts to dwindle. I've got a couple of. I think the chamber scramble is next Friday, the 22nd, something like that. Yeah. So after that's put to bed would probably be more advantageous. I'll work with Misty and make sure that gets on the calendar.
that's fine. Well, it's nice to see a list of everything that was put in like that. Good bonus. Is there anybody got any questions? Golf course?
There's a special thank you to Tony for hauling all those rocks and making that look beautiful.
Yeah.
It's an undertaking, so thank you.
It's a lot of work, but
Yeah.
It's definitely something I needed.
Mhm.
And nothing from the library.
I don't have anything from Kelly or their board.
Sorry, no, I do not either, I'm sorry. I was out of town last week.
Well, we could move to the item 7, the Blackduck Personnel Committee.
So the committee met last Thursday, excuse me, for a couple hours, went over a number of new policies and some direction in the union proposal. Wage scale and updated job descriptions, so I provided those 4 action items for the council and all the documentation to support that. That you may have read the minutes in the consent agenda, pretty much summarizing, those recommendations. So what I'm just looking for from the board is final approval of those 4 items. Well, 4 points. There's numerous items underneath each points. There's 4 policies and so forth, so.
We need a motion to approve the updated non-DOT drug safe workplace testing policy.
If
Or
the
do-
board-
are we gonna
if the
do them
board
all as one?
is fine and there is nothing next, you could do all 4 of them as one, and then if there are any Q&A, I can handle that as a group. That way you don't have to do the 8 actions, 8 motions, you just do one.
Um, Oh, would you like that one worded? If we're doing
I
fast,
would-
all of these in one motion.
I would recommend the motion state that said council member moves to approve the personnel policies, the new and revised personnel policies recommended by the personnel committee.
Have a motion to approve those as
Motion to approve personnel policies for new and revised policies recommended by the committee. Personnel committee.
there any discussion on any point here? All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? None passes. To you, Christina.
The next item. Under the personnel committee would be the 2024 union, of operating engineers proposal. Final approval of that proposal, then, that would be on page 116 of the packet.
We get a motion for that?
Move we approve the city of Blackduck final proposal from the International Union of Operating Engineers that's dated August 28th, 2023.
Second,
second.
any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I,
Opposed?
Next, item C is the 24 recommended wage scale, which includes the Minnesota Department of Labor minimum wage increase.
Do I have a motion to approve the 2024 wage scale?
Move to approve the 2024 wage scale increase.
We'll have a second.
second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
And the last item is to approve the revisions to the job descriptions of the administrative department supporting the deputy register duties.
Mayor Gillette, with your permission, I would like to address the council.
You may.
Basically, I'm here today to request to close the meeting to have a discussion about personnel issues. With your permission, if you feel it.
I don't have a problem listening to what you have to say.
And then,
we need a motion to,
If you choose to close this meeting right now, then everybody that is in chambers has to vacate. Unless if Paige is asking for herself that she has somebody else here that she is okay having in chambers, otherwise everyone else has to vacate except for myself. And it's a closed meeting.
or you can wait till the end. Of the meeting, I can wait too.
I would recommend you wait to the end. But
With that recommendation, then I think we can,
Are you okay with that?
then item D, then
we still need to approve item D, right? Or is that going to be on hold until this?
Paige did not address any action that was put in front of you on the agenda. She asked for a closed meeting of the council for a personnel issue.
okay, then what we'll do is we can
Continue on your
continue
agenda.
on. And we will conduct a closed meeting at the end
After you adjourn your regular meeting.
of the adjournment.
So we're postponing item D until the end.
No. Item D gets done right now.
Oh, okay.
There, motion approved.
job description revisions. Administration.
I do have a question. Does this have something to do with the meeting that she's proposing? Are we pushing this through before she has her time to tell us something, or? It just seems to me that it got brought up just before this as it started, and now we're pushing it through and she's gonna wait till the end, so. I'm just jumping to conclusions here, but that seems like the two are correlated in some way.
If that is the case, then the council should postpone their action on this agenda item. Continue on in the regular agenda. Table this item for a later date, or bring the meeting back into regular session after the closed door meeting is completed to take further action on it if needed.
Right?
But that's up to council if that is how they are
No,
pursuing this.
makes sense to me. So we don't want to approve the,
Like I said, I'm just not sure, it just seems like
then do we need like the technical, do we need a motion to table this?
motion to table.
Okay.
The job description revision. For the administration department.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item 8.
Okay, I need action on resolution 2314. This is a resolution to appoint election judges for the Beltrán County special election to be held in November.
Correct.
Yes.
Judges. Oh, county, sorry. County.
Start the election. Make a mistake.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Right.
Aye. Opposed? Passed. Yes.
Item B is to take action on interim ordinance 2303, an ordinance establishing a moratorium on the sale of cannabis. Which was read in the public hearing, yes, preceding the meeting.
I'll move to approve ordinance 2023-03, the interim ordinance establishing a moratorium on the sale of cannabis.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Item C is the cemetery workstation proposal for Lakeview Cemetery from All Funeral Services for the city of Blackduck. This presentation and agreement was presented at the work session. Nothing has changed. The opportunity to still do all the inventory over a course of 4 years at, $5,000 per year is still up to us to decide if we want to move forward with that. I would like to see that recommendation get passed and move forward with this opportunity. It will definitely need to be hopefully subsidized because the cemetery department doesn't make a lot of money It already gets partially, supported by the liquor store as well as the general fund. We're not making a ton of money on grade.
No, and you're,
Not this
and
year,
I really,
no.
I don't really think that it's like a goal.
I know, it's not, but I mean. I go back and forth on this, it's a fantastic opportunity to do this. I did reach out and send the appropriate
Well,
information back.
my thought was, if not now. When?
Right,
When it becomes more expensive, which I think we should do it now, that'd be my personal opinion here, and
It's how things are now, everything is. It should be done.
yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a couple weeks since the work session, but I did respond to the 2 questions that were of concern. Is it's proprietary, so who owns the data, and we do, and Tim made a very good comment in terms of the GIS level of the data. And I believe the people running it. Did I send that to you? Boy, I think I did. I don't think it was of any concern.
I will make a motion to approve the cemetery workstation proposal for Lakeview Cemetery.
second.
Do we have any discussion on this?
Yeah, I think it's expensive. I think it's a substantial expense that he can do without presently. If I recall, the workstation or the work session presentation was about $20,000 to build the database.
That is correct, Ron.
And there was a monthly fee mentioned of $99.
That is also correct.
So let's add $1 to that and say it's 1,200 a year. So that's, 20,000, 1,200 a year, and then there's a percentage fee for each transaction that we would pay.
And they'll take a percentage away from our graves. Our grave sales.
So I think, another item on the agenda has been the budget and the levy increase for next year, and I see that that's now 2 digits prior to the decimal point, so. I would be concerned about expending that kind of money on the cemetery.
Okay.
That's this counselor's opinion.
Do you have any other? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hey. Counselor Slates? Not here.
Is your concern just getting the sales online, or is it just assisting staff with locating sites? What's your biggest concern?
Uploading all the records that are here in paper form and being able to locate.
My biggest thing was the time it saves. He had said that about trying to locate things and how accurately we're not doing them.
I really wish you guys would reconsider the vote you just took.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because we do help communities with cemeteries. And if you'd be inclined, we could put together a proposal for what we've done with others. We have incorporated a GIS component with it as well, which, the city would have. So we could certainly look at that and see if it's, something that would be more affordable. So.
If that's
Will we be,
Yeah, we'd be interested in at least checking that out.
Yeah, because what we do is then in each of the blocks, there's a aluminum monument that you put in there that identifies the 4 corners. And that know, is a little bit more of an expense, but then you've got that permanent marker that's there. So, you know, that's something we can certainly look at for you.
That's gonna have all the GIS similar to this where we can punch up, you know, Christina can punch up a grave site number and it'll give us coordinates to go out there and all that same type of deal. So when it comes time to dig, it's easy to find.
Yeah, that's what I understand is that they take your paper copies and we scan that and we can do, you know, depending on the level of survey information you want, you know, we can work with that. So.
Okay,
I would certainly be interested in seeing any other alternative. It's great.
on to item D.
Okay, item D, goes back to our conversation about our restoration of the Blackduck. I have been working on some grant proposals for Operation Roundup and Upper Red Lake Area Association. And what I'm here to ask the council for is an earmark of the liquor rent fund for $2,000 towards this restoration, so that the city has some stake in this restoration as I do for grants. I am requesting $2,000 from Roundup and $1,000 from Upper Red Lake. I have been in communication with Robert Ingersoll, who's on the Blackduck History and Art Center board, and he is going to commit their winter newsletter to this action item, the restoration of the Blackduck, because their outreach on their newsletter goes outside the state of Minnesota, and they get a lot of their funding through their newsletter. So he's going to support me in working on raising enough funds to get the renovation done. In addition to that, I've been in contact with Jennifer Parker, and we're going to meet and do an article in the Blackduck American to bring awareness to the restoration as well. She has asked for a picture, which I'll continue to work on. She wants the council in front of the Blackduck, but just to make it a good story. So my hope is in the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to get some action and get some funding to start for next summer to get this restoration completed. But a good portion of the of getting the funding is going to be from private donations as well as other organizations. I'm working towards approaching the Lions Club as well and the chamber to see what other kind of committed funds I can get from the public. So what I'm asking for tonight is for the city council to earmark $2,000 from the liquor rent fund for this project. Keep in mind that this project will not even take place until 24.
Well, I think that's reasonable. You probably have some mistake in it.
Right,
Absolutely.
but I need a formal action to approve that.
What's that?
So,
Motion?
yes, I need a motion.
Would you put a motion? Okay, I will give a motion to approve $2,000 for the restoration for the duck out of the liquor fund.
Liquor rent fund.
Liquor rent fund,
Yeah.
sorry.
Things gone to that agenda for the winter before precinct.
Yeah, Mike and I still need to meet on how we're going to do that, because we can't really remove the duck from its site. So we'll have to build something around it to keep him safe.
The cracks are getting pretty big.
Well, the cracks are probably decades old too, so I don't know the last time I think the fiberglass coating was done when the new duck was brought in the 80s. So it's been quite a few decades that it's been exposed to the elements. So as long as there's nothing more happening and we don't get a really bad freeze, Can't get too much worse, but yes, we'll
Is-
protect it.
Is there any nonprofit that would be interested in conducting like a, save the duck?
And that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm hoping to gain. I've got Rob working with me as a small committee, and I'm gonna ask Jennifer to be part of it.
Cause I mean, if we could find somebody to head it up that was nonprofit, then we could maybe do something, an event at the pond to help. But like, I can't put it on because then the money.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a conflict for us.
Yeah,
Well, it needs to be a nonprofit to put their gambling number on it, so you can sell raffle tickets, so you can do that. So if we could find a nonprofit to be willing to put their number on there, be involved in it, then we
it's a
could
great
host,
idea, Shonda.
we could do
An event.
Save the Duck event. Yep.
During duck season.
Well, that's now, so I mean, September would be good. Now would be great, but we probably wanna do it. We probably wanna do it in the winter when nobody has anything else to do,
Mhm.
get them in, and we want the funds before summer of 24, right? Okay,
Appreciate the input, thank you.
you're welcome.
That was a great idea.
The charge of all the gas stations. and stuff. That's fine. Same Blackduck,
I love that idea too.
you know.
It's a campaign, it's a campaign, yes. But we don't want it willy-nilly, we need somebody to head it. I know, I,
We still have a motion
sorry.
on the table.
No, that's second it, yep,
All in favor?
yes.
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
no problem.
I have a couple of dates on the agenda. There's a finance meeting this Thursday, the 14th. That's at 2 p.m. time on there.
You call me, I'll call you.
The next planning meeting is September 20th. The work session for the council is the 25th. Also on the 25th, we'll have to hold a special meeting to approve the preliminary levy for 2024. The finance committee discussed if the council would like that to proceed or immediately follow the work session on the 25th, providing any further feedback or suggestions to the preliminary levy before it's adopted. So I've got that highlighted in red so that there's a discussion tonight about how you want that night to go.
So it's either before or after.
Basically, yeah, I mean, I have to advertise for it, so I want to make sure I get it out there. That the preliminary levy will be adopted at this special meeting at X time.
I would think you'd want to do it, to me, you do it before the
Okay,
work session.
which is what I typically do, but
I-
it was just a suggestion.
Just makes sense to me. Instead of having folks, if there is someone that's got something. They don't have to sit the whole work session for. On it, or?
No. Same.
And then November 7th is the Beltrami County special election for vote on the Beltrami County jail sales tax, which I think everybody got a mailer on.
Yep.
And then I don't have anything else under community events, but the chamber meeting is also September 20th. And like I stated earlier, the chamber's golf scramble is the 22nd. And I think it's that Friday, which is like 9 o'clock in the morning, so it's a weekday instead of an evening scramble.
Chamber meetings at the pond this time, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Can I speak on the community event?
Yes.
So in each of your packets today, you've had a coat drive flyer. Just want to get the word out there. We're doing coat drive again here at City Hall. It's going to be the first Thursday of October, 3 to 6 p.m. We get a lot of our coats brought in from United Way of Bemidji. Everything we don't use goes immediately back to Bemidji and then they use it for theirs. We had a lot of folks come by last year. It was super appreciated, and we've been working really closely with the bycat families too, to get them coats and mittens and boots, all kinds of stuff, so.
What time of the day is that?
3 to 6. Here is.
The first one that we did, I thought that was pretty well attended, and I don't know how, did you wonder in COVID?
No, I did one, this will be my third, so I did one in 2022, 21, 22, and then now this year, yeah.
What day is that?
Thursday, October 5th. That's the first Thursday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if you know anybody, or if you have any coats or anything, bring them to City Hall, I'll find a box, put them in.
Thank you. Council have anything else?
Yes.
So Max, at this time, if the regular meeting is as completed as it can, you would want your council to close the regular meeting and open the closed meeting. At 7:08.
Bring a motion? Yep.
Oh, can I close that? Off the meeting
Yes. And open that.
and open a closed meeting?
Yep. Have a motion for a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then you gotta make the motion, yeah.
I make a motion. Please do.
Yes.
I move that we close the closed session and reopen the regular council.
And that is at, I have 7:54, just for the record.
Correct, and that is our motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh,
I got Lori.
okay. You got Lori.
That's the first initial I started writing.
Gotta say it.
You get it.
Yep, go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Regular meeting is now back in session.
Okay.
To our earlier tabled item.
7D.
Correct.
Correct.
We had, motion to table this, so
Motion to table. And I need a calendar to say when.
Well, what I would do.
it actually has to be at the next.
Yeah, your language should be that, you motion to table the action on the job description revisions and request the personnel committee to revisit the discussion on that topic.
Good.
So there, I said it for you. You guys can just say yes and
Can
no.
we do that?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna
Lori?
get ready. I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Lori.
Motion.
Lori's making a motion, but we
I'll
need a
second
second. Don?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? None.
That being
We
said,
table,
Yeah.
and we are to item 11, yes?
since I have 3/4 of the personnel committee now present. I had to go. I will do my best to reschedule a personnel committee meeting. Well, you can't vote on anything at your work session or the
Nope.
special meeting, because that will just be 3 preliminary levies, so. That being said, the next meeting that you can vote on anything is October 9th, so. I will make sure I can get the personnel committee together prior to the 9th, so that a final vote can be. Hopefully something more can get work done.
I'm out the first week of October, just a reminder.
Right, okay. Thank you. Sooner rather than later then.
So September sometime.
Be a busy month.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Max. I needed to make sure I got all that in my
Nope,
head and out my mouth.
fine. You're doing great.
Now you're on 11,
We're
unless
doing
there's
stuff-
something
we're doing-
more.
We're doing stuff nobody wants to do. Nick. Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, we stand adjourned.
Who was my second, please? John was? Okay.
Okay.
It's contact, you need to start.